Ever since people have been alive, they've been finding ways to keep themselves that way. Some people see the natural extension of this to be keeping themselves alive forever. We're here today to explain some of the various theories on immortality and why all of them are effectively disproven by one simple argument. The belief of everlasting life goes back to some of the first bastions of civilization. It's almost impossible to know whether or not people were attempting to extend their natural life cycles at this time, but there were religious beliefs under Mesopotamian culture that featured ideas of immortality. Remember that again, fundamentally, immortality is impossible. A majority of the idea of immortality in human civilization comes from religion and either the afterlife or reincarnation, so a majority of what's covered in this video will fall under that pretense. The Mesopotamians were credited with a significant amount of cultural achievement, such as a system of hierarchy, a system of morality, and agricultural development. They also had a basic agreement on what happens when someone dies, though it likely wasn't the first religion. We know about it to this day because of their written language. They believed that when you died, you went to a pseudo-underworld justly named solely for the fact that it was literally under our world, named Kur. People weren't judged or treated in conjunction to how they acted in the real world. Their souls just floated around, acting out a skewered, half-forgotten version of what life was like on Earth. Since this went on forever, this can effectively be labeled as one of the mainstream conceptualizations of immortality. We'll cover Abrahamic religions next, since their idea of immortality comes from an incredibly similar place. There are three main denominations of Abrahamic religion: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. They share similar themes, though possess very keen differences. They all adhere to monotheistic creationism, or the idea that there is only one God and that God created everything. They believe that it is possible for this God to interact with the earth, and that he is capable of physically embodying himself within this plane of existence. The most important similarity is that all three religions believe that when you die, there is an afterlife. Contrary to the Mesopotamians' religion, your actions are accounted for when passing on to the next life, except in Judaism, where practice of the religion is enough to warrant access into their heaven. Whether you've ended up in heaven or hell, the deal is the same. You're there eternally, which is just a fancy way of saying forever and ever and ever. An unfathomably long amount of time, which is generally used to convince people that their physical lives are better spent preparing to get into these places. It is of general consensus among Abrahamic religious figures that humans, not animals, have souls that inhabit physical vessels, bodies. Once the vessel or the body dies, the soul is left to wander and is either judged by God and sent to hell, or pulled into heaven by him. This is more or less besides the point. The primary takeaway is that they believe your consciousness is what lasts forever, being far more important than your body and indefinitely more durable. But what if you like your body? You worked hard to get where you are, hitting the gym twice a week, dieting, maybe you have a nice job, comfortable lifestyle, maybe your idea of living forever involves, not dying. You wouldn't be the first person to fantasize and even take steps to ensure that you'd live straight to the end of the universe. Before we get to the juicier part of this video, let's take some time to look over another religious belief in immortality that might actually defy the title of this video under certain circumstances. The next take on this is reincarnation. I'm sure you've probably heard that term before, but if you haven't, the idea is very simple. When you die, you are born again either as another person or even another animal. Two major religions had ideas of reincarnation in them, explained in different ways. Hinduism was, and likely is still, the most popular religion featuring the idea of reincarnation. Since ancient times, India has featured a very strict caste system. While other societies had them, India's was religiously motivated and realized by everyone involved in it. It worked in a pyramid, as most caste systems typically do, with exalted religious leaders being on top of it, and Indians' synonym to human garbage being on the bottom. They also introduced a system of karma that tied into their beliefs in reincarnation. You were born into your caste level. If your parents were merchants, you were merchants. If they were dredge, you would be as well. They believed there was a reason you were there, and that reason was karma. When you did something good or fulfilled your purpose, you'd gain positive karma. The same went for negative actions. You would get negative karma. People of a lower caste were those who had very low karma, and people born into rich religious families had very high karma. So depending on how you acted during your life, you would die and be reborn in a lower, higher, or even the same caste if you remained incredibly neutral in terms of your good and bad deeds. This is the dictionary definition of immortality, since your physical life would continue even in the event of your death. A more streamlined version of reincarnation is featured in Buddhism, an atheistic religion. Should probably take a moment to explain that word, since most people associate atheism with the people that spend their time arguing on the internet with Christians. Atheism means no God or no gods, a lack of a god. There are people that do not adhere to any religion who describe themselves as atheists. This is true, however, Buddhists don't believe in a god either, making them atheistic as well. Buddhists believe that when you die, you are reincarnated. However, this process seems to be random, and as Buddhists believe that all life is incredibly spiritually similar, people can come back as things like birds, dogs, and of course, other people. They believe that this cycle can be broken through spiritual enlightenment, typically acquired through meditation, since their idol, the Buddha, achieved his enlightenment in the same way. Life is cyclical and does not end in death, but when somebody chooses to remove themselves from it by striving for enlightenment. This is where there is a legitimate scientific possibility that immortality is possible. Yes, it contrasts with the title of the video, however, this is simply a possibility that scientists are still arguing over as of the time of this video, so it's impossible to say that it's not true yet. There are two theories behind this, one of them disproving it, one of them agreeing with it. Since the one disagreeing with it is no, we'll go over the other one. Imagine the universe in mathematical terms. There are a few ways of picturing it, two of which allow for immortality. Are we line segments on a graph that is the universe, temporary existences on an indefinite plane? Or is the universe that we exist on itself a line segment, with us just being much smaller pieces of it? Since we haven't reached that far out, we don't know for sure. However, if the universe is an indefinite expanse of time, there could be an argument made for immortality. Given an indefinite amount of time, everything will eventually happen, and this goes into quantum physics a little bit, but bear with me. This means that at some point, the exact molecular makeup that constitutes your consciousness has a chance of existing again or at the same time. Since time in this theory is indefinite, this will happen indefinitely, effectively rendering you immortal. Because you will always, at some point, exist, and there will never be a circumstance in which you do not, forever. This is disproven the second you consider a limited plane of existence, or the principle of entropy destroying everything and anything. However, since neither of those ideas are very well understood, it's still an option on the table. So with that existential mindfuck out of the way, why is immortality impossible? It all boils down to how life intrinsically works. You live, you die. If there's a beginning, there has to be an end. It sounds like a lot of Sundance bullshit, sure, but think about it realistically. Let's say we take away your natural timer. Forget about the sun exploding in like 10 billion trillion years and say you live forever. You're never gonna die of natural causes. What about unnatural causes? I'm gonna let Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force handle that one.
You know, whatever. You do what you like to do, I do what I like to do, okay? But you're a sucker. You're getting fed this line about how, like, you're gonna live forever or whatever. You're gonna die. Someone will kill you. Someone will kill you with a knife. Make sure your abs are friggin' ripped. You got some good guns. You want to look good for when you get stabbed with a knife. Sorry, that's how it works.
There you go. No matter what method you use, whether you're sacrificing people to Satan to stay here for a little longer, feeding the blood plasma of young people through your veins, or even uploading your consciousness onto a machine persona, Mark Zuckerberg, I'm looking at you. Somebody's going to throw a rock at your head, push you out into the sun, or unplug the computer keeping you alive. If you're alive forever, then eventually someone is going to try to stop that.